Hello everyone, this is Colleen Lemma, Starseed Astrologer and Spiritual Messenger from SacredSoulEmpowerment.com. Here to do your monthly angel card reading for May 2020. For this month's monthly reading, we'll be using the Syrian Starseed Tarot by Patricia Corey and Alyssa Bartha for the main message for everyone. And your special message card this month, depending on your stone of choice, will be coming from the Wisdom of the Oracle deck by Colette Baron Reed. So let's start out by taking a look at what your stones of choice are for that special message later on. The first stone of choice is chrysocolla. Now chrysocolla is this beautiful turquoise blue stone. In fact, a lot of times it seems to be turquoise or looks like turquoise or is mistaken for turquoise, but actually the chrysocolla is a stone of communication, just like you would think as far as turquoise, because it relates to that throat chakra area with its turquoise color. And it's also a stone of empowerment and teaching, also related to the throat chakra. It helps to discharge negative energies, and it helps to allow truth and inner wisdom to surface. Your second stone of choice is Amazonite. Now, all my stones for this month are raw stones, meaning they're not tumbled and polished. So we have some nice raw earthy pieces here. And this Amazonite is known as the stone of hope. And this stone is also an excellent manifestation tool. It helps to remind us that it's time for our voices to be heard. And then your last stone of choice is this beautiful raw piece of azurite. Okay, the azurite is activation of the third eye. It definitely is that third eye colored stone. So activation of the third eye and all of your psychic gifts and abilities, as well as channeling, clairvoyance, sight. It can relate to the throat chakra as well. It has a very calming effect and helps to relieve stress. And of course, helping with communication with your spirit guides, your angels. It's known as the stone of heaven. So again, your three stones of choice are, we have the chrysocolla, we have the Amazonite, and we have the azurite. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the energy of the month of May. Brand new month. We're hoping a brand new energy, right? Because of what's going on all over the world on the planet, the collective, what we're all dealing with here. The month of May, as far as numerology is concerned, is a universal 9-month vibration. So how do we get that? We take the universal year vibration of 2020, which when added together is a 4 vibration, and then we add that to the month in question. May is the 5th month, so 4 plus 5 equals the 9. So when we're looking at the universal month vibration of any particular month, we really have to take into account what the universal year energy is all about to get a more clear picture on what that universal month energy is going to be about. Because the number 9 in numerology, it's the last of the single-digit numbers. So we're talking about a completion energy. It's an energy of endings, releasing, letting go, healing, surrender. All of these words would be key words for the number 9 energy and for the month of May in this case. And now, since we're in a universal 4 year for 2020, this whole year, just in a nutshell, is about restructuring. The number 4 is about structure, form, manifestation, right? If you think about 4 corners of a box, it's a very solid, secure kind of foundation that we're sitting upon. Now, if we think about what's happening in the world, we're saying, well, we're not on a solid foundation right now. And that's because the number 4 is about restructuring, so we can have that solid foundation again. So we're needing to have patience, determination, and perseverance, all keywords of the number 4, to restructure ourselves, our thoughts, our ideas, our ways of operating, our ways of living, our ways of experiencing and perceiving our reality, in order to restructure on an external level what's going on for the planet, for the world. for the earth, for humanity. So again, if we look at that backdrop for this number 9 energy that we're in May, we're talking about the ending of the way things used to be. Okay, it's a completion energy. We're in a completion cycle of living the way that we're used to living, or what we call the quote-unquote normal. You know, we're going to have a new normal, but right now the old normal is no longer. So we're completing that, we're releasing that, we're healing from that, we're surrendering to that, and we're letting go. Again, all those keywords of the number 9. The number 9 is also a creative, artistic, philanthropic, and humanitarian vibration. So here we're going to see in this month of May even more humanitarian groups or people of like mind coming together for a common goal. We've already been seeing that, but I feel like that's just going to be heightened and highlighted to where, again, we're coming together with unconditional love, compassion, non-judgment, all those keywords for the number 9 as well, to assist humanity and the collective in some way, which again is number 9 energy. The 9th major arcana of the tarot, because I always like to look at that as well for the vibration. The 9th major arcana is the Hermit card. In the Syrian Starseed Tarot, it's called Reflection. And the Hermit card is about seeking the light within yourself. It's about going on an inner healing journey, which again, I feel like we're all going to be doing. As we're going to talk about soon, the astrological highlights, there's a lot of planets going retrograde this month, which turns the energy of those retrograde planets on an inner level. So it fits really well with this Hermit card, and again in this deck it's called Reflection, to where we're going within and we're reflecting, we're going within to contemplate, we're going within to heal, and we're going on a spiritual journey to find that light within ourselves, for ourselves. We're looking for the answers not outside of us right now, we're looking for answers within ourselves. And so this means we have to connect to our higher soul self. This month of May is an excellent time to increase your level of meditation or spiritual practice, or start meditation and spiritual practice if you don't already do that. Maybe to use your own divination cards to receive messages for the month and the weeks ahead for yourself. But again, this isn't necessarily about going outside of you and asking, what's going to happen to me, what's going to happen in my life, and that doesn't mean you can't do that, but this is really asking you to look within yourself and to find those answers by connecting to your own higher soul self, because it's your own higher soul self, that part of you that is connected to God's source energy universe, that part of you that is your soul, your higher, vibrational soul that's been with you throughout all incarnations and will be with you throughout any other incarnations you decide to have in this reality, or on any other planetary system of reality. Your higher soul self knows everything about you, everything about your past lives, all your gifts, talents, and abilities, all of your karmic challenges and things that you need to heal. So you have the answers within yourself. And now it's a time in this month of May to reflect upon that, to meditate on that, to go within, to connect with higher soul self, and to again find that light within, because you are light, you are healing, you are unconditional love, you're all these things that we said that the number 9 was all about. Okay. So let's put that aside and let's talk about some of the astrological highlights of the month of May. So most of what I'm going to be talking about is the fact that these planets are going retrograde. And I will say that on, I believe it was April 24th, Pluto, the planet of power, death and rebirth, transformation, transmutation, he already went to retrograde motion at the end of April. So I wanted to bring that up again because now we have some other planets that are going to be also turning retrograde and internalizing that energy. So what does Pluto retrograde mean? First of all, Pluto is going to be retrograde for many months. It's a very slow-moving planet. So when it goes retrograde for a long time. But right now, it's asking us to find the power within ourselves. If Pluto is about power, it's asking us to empower ourselves on an internal level. If Pluto is about transformation, it's asking us to transform ourselves on an inner level. So we're going within, we're turning that Plutonian energy within, and we are transmuting old, lower vibrational thoughts, emotions, belief systems, karmic patterns, because that's what Pluto likes to do. And once Pluto turns back to direct motion a few months later, it can start to externalize some of those energies. But again, right now, we're doing this on an inner level. Let's talk about all the retrograde planets first, and then if there's anything else that I feel I want to talk about astrologically, I'll bring that up afterwards. But on the 10th and 11th, depending on what part of the world you're in, on May 10th and 11th, Saturn is going to be turning retrograde. So we're already feeling that. We've already been feeling that the last week or two of April, as it was slowing down, because it's a fairly slow-moving planet, not as slow as Pluto. But we've been starting to feel kind of that heaviness or that burden energy or that responsibility energy, the karmic lesson energy, which are all things that Saturn rules. Now, Saturn also rules restructuring, or structure and form and manifestation, and it rules, again, taking responsibility for ourselves and our lives and our choices and our decisions. Saturn goes retrograde at 1 degree of Aquarius on the 10th and 11th. And because it's only into that first couple of degrees of Aquarius, as it retrogrades through the month of September, it's going to retrograde back into Capricorn for a time. Now, Capricorn is Saturn's home sign. And if we think about what is Saturn restructuring, again, if it's internalizing the energies when it turns retrograde, we're needing to restructure ourselves. We're needing to restructure our own thoughts and belief systems. And at some point, as Saturn turns back to direct motion, we can then take that restructuring process that we did within ourselves, and we can then turn it out into the outer world, where things will then become more restructured on the collective level, on the third dimensional level of humanity. Saturn going retrograde, we're dealing with those karmic lessons within ourselves, right? Because Saturn rules karma. So any karmic patterns that we have, any karmic lessons from previous lifetimes that we have, we're going within to kind of clean that up. It's like doing a housekeeping sort of thing on an inner soul level. Now, Saturn does rule third dimensional time and space, so you might find that things are slowing down as far as manifestation on the outer level. Projects that you've been working on, things that you want to move forward. It doesn't mean they have to come to a total stop and a standstill, but there's going to be a slowing down that probably happens with the manifestation process. Again, because what Saturn retrograde is saying is that restructuring your inner world is more important right now, because our outer world is a reflection of our inner world, okay? And whether this be on a collective level, that the collective mindset of humanity is at a certain place, and part of this inner process that we are all dealing with as a collective is assisting in the manifestation of our outer world, it also is true for us as an individual, okay? So what we experience individually in our outer world, in circumstances and situations, is a reflection of how stable are you within yourself, how much are you taking responsibility for your own soul growth and evolution, how much are you restructuring your own thoughts, ideas, emotions, belief systems, so that when turned outward, it can reflect to bringing in abundance and prosperity and the manifestation of your blessings and the manifestation of certain projects or things that you might be working on. So that is Saturn going retrograde. And then on the 13th of May, Venus is going retrograde in Gemini, okay? She's going to be, I didn't write it down, but I think around 23 degrees of Gemini when she turns retrograde, retrograding back to 5 degrees Gemini. So she's going to stay in the same sign. And Venus rules our relationships and our partnerships, and she rules finances and money, and she rules our personal values and our sense of self-worth and how we value ourselves as well. She rules beauty and refinement and things of an artistic nature as well. So as Venus goes retrograde, and again, she won't stay retrograde for as long as Pluto or as long as Saturn, or as long as the next planet we're going to talk about here in a minute. Venus will be retrograde For just a few weeks. I don't recall exactly when she's turning back to direct motion. I believe it's sometime in July, so again, only a couple of months. But she's going to turn that energy, her energy, inward. And now we're needing to look at our own relationship to ourselves. And now with Venus retrograding in Gemini, and Gemini is the sign that rules our thoughts, our ideas, our communications. It's one of the signs that rules the mental body, the mental realm. So how are you self-communicating? How are you communicating to yourself within yourself? Okay? And as we heal any of that, as we go within and reflect upon that and heal any ways that we're chattering to ourselves or speaking to ourselves or talking to ourselves, it's going to help all of our relationships once Venus goes back to direct motion. And yes, it's going to bring up things regarding communications, connections with loved ones, partnerships, relationships. Again, it's an internalization process that if we're healing the things that Venus rules within ourselves, it's going to eventually bring healing to the relationships and partnerships that we have outside of ourselves. And with the whole finances, money piece, Venus ruling all of our personal resources, which can include time and support and ideas, especially ideas because it's in Gemini, the idea sign. But there's going to be, again, this internalization or slowing down process, perhaps with moving forward with money matters or financial matters. Look at it like Mercury retrograde. Mercury, of course, is about like fine-tuning details and not missing any steps. And it's not that, any of these planets turning retrograde is not a punishment or a bad thing. It's that there's something that needs to be taken care of within ourselves. Perhaps our relationship to money needs to heal. The relationship to how we think about our personal resources and being worthy and deserving enough to receive these blessings in various ways. And if we heal that and heal that again, self-communication, which goes along with it, then as Venus turns back to direct motion, it's going to open the floodgates even more to us being able to send out our intentions or visualizations or speak what it is that we desire to come into fruition and manifestation. And then on the 14th of May, and you can notice that these three planets, the 10th and 11th, the 13th, the 14th, are all turning retrograde in a very close period of time. On the 14th, Jupiter turns retrograde at 27 degrees of Capricorn. Now, Jupiter is about our belief systems, and it's about abundance and prosperity, and it also rules the expansion principle. So as Jupiter retrogrades, it internalizes this energy. So one of the things that it can do is, rather than being able to expand our energies out into the world, it's almost like a pulling back of those energies in the outer world sense. Because now we're needing to use that expansion principle within ourselves. And what does that mean? Well, if Jupiter rules our belief systems, we're needing to expand our perception and awareness about our own belief systems, about ourselves, about our lives, about our relationships, about what's happening in the world and why. And so again, there's this internalization process happening here. Now, Saturn is retrograding back into Capricorn, as I mentioned. Jupiter is retrograde also in Capricorn. Capricorn rules big business, institutions regarding politics, finances, government, etc., the patriarchal system. So on a collective level, as these two especially, and Pluto as well, Pluto's also in Capricorn, these three planets retrograde are allowing for this kind of inner processing, inner kind of healing to take place. And of course they're going to be retrograde for different periods of time, but one by one as they come out of retrograde, we're going to be looking at things differently. In fact, I feel like with Jupiter going retrograde and Jupiter ruling our belief systems, that we might come into some truths regarding what's really happening and why, and how it's going to be affecting our lives to come. Okay, so some things might be revealed to us as we're going through this time period. But you can see how this Hermit card, this reflection card, and all the retrograde planets really kind of fit together, because again, we're turning inward just like the Hermit. We're going within to do some healing like the Hermit. And it's a time more of, you know, silence and meditation and healing and contemplation. Okay, so let me check the time here. Let's talk about the fact that on the 7th of May, we have a full moon at 17 degrees of Scorpio. Now, Scorpio is the sign of transformation, transmutation, death and rebirth, right? So as we come to this full moon at 17 degrees Scorpio, and this particular full moon is going to be in a positive aspect to Neptune and Pisces. Neptune rules the spiritual realm, okay, and magic and things unseen, though, and things that are also kind of behind the scenes, if you will. And this full moon is also going to be opposing Mercury, which is now in Taurus. Now, Taurus, where Mercury is going to be during this full moon, is a money sign, ruling our money and personal resources. Scorpio, where the full moon is, meaning the sun is in Taurus and the moon is opposite that in Scorpio at that 17th degree, Scorpio is also a money sign, ruling other people's resources, other people's money. So this particular full moon is going to bring up some things regarding our money and our finances, both on an individual level as well as, I suspect, on a collective level. And full moons, of course, heighten and magnify the energy, right? A full moon, as it's coming into its fullness, is magnifying the tides of the ocean, is magnifying our emotions, because the moon rules our emotions. So this full moon in Scorpio is probably going to be pretty powerful, because Scorpio is a powerful sign. It's powerful, it's mysterious, it's magnetic. Again, it deals with death and rebirth and transformation, regeneration, transmutation, and rising above the shadow, because Scorpio can be things that are hidden, things that are the shadow side of the subconscious, and the shadow side of the collective as well. So this is where I go back to some things might come to light over the course of this month, or maybe even the next month to come. Let's go ahead and follow that up when the new moon is. The new moon is on, I'm trying to find it. The new moon is on the 20th of May, okay? And it's going to be at 2 degrees of Gemini. So now we're into Gemini energy at that point. The sun is in Taurus up until the 20th, and then the new moon is shortly thereafter at 2 degrees of Gemini. So the sun and the moon are both at that same degree of Gemini. And Gemini rules the mental realm, our thoughts, our ideas, our communications. It's, you know, going to lighten up the energy a little bit. It's going to be more about networking and learning and teaching and sharing information, gathering information, and all sorts of messages and communications of all kinds. I always say speaking, teaching, writing, etc. with Gemini energy. So that new moon is going to be in a positive connection to Saturn. And so it's trying to restructure our thoughts and restructure our communications with other people out in the world. And also during that new moon on the 20th of May, both Mercury and Taurus are going to be in a challenging aspect to Neptune. So by then, Mercury has moved out of Taurus and into Gemini, and Venus, like I said, is also in Gemini, and she's retrograde at that point during the new moon. So both Mercury and Venus being in Gemini, that's mutable energy, changeable energy, not grounded energy, okay? Gemini is one of those mutable signs, so energies can be a little chaotic and vacillating there. And Neptune is in Pisces, and Pisces is a mutable sign as well. So with the challenging aspect between Mercury and Venus and Neptune, I feel like things are not going to be clear, communications are not going to be clear, relationship dynamics are not going to be clear, they're going to be confusing. And really with the relationship piece, we have to wait until Venus goes back to direct motion to kind of sort out all of that. And again, it's a good thing because it's allowing us time to work on our inner selves and our relationships with other people in our life that are important to us, so that we can work out all of those challenges or karmic patterns, if you will. But with Venus connecting with Neptune, she's going to do that 3 times with Neptune because of her retrograde cycle. Again, always bringing up this sense of confusion or things not being clear or understood properly by, one or the other of us in any kind of relationship situation. Now, Mars, let's also kind of throw Mars in the mix. Mars isn't going retrograde yet. That's going to be later on down the line here, not in this month, but in another month. But Mars is leaving Aquarius and moving into Pisces on the 13th of May. So Mars is about energy, action, forward movement. He's the warrior planet, okay? And while he was in Aquarius, and again up until the 13th of May, still being in Aquarius, there's energy and action put towards humanitarian endeavors or networking or connecting with groups of like-minded people. It's also about our hopes, dreams, and wishes. Aquarius is about our hopes, dreams, and wishes. So Mars is putting action and energy towards that. What do you want in your life? What are your dreams for yourself in your life? And how can we move forward to connect with that? Now, as Mars moves into Pisces on the 13th, and will be in Pisces the rest of this month and into June, the energy is a little bit more watered down because Mars is a fire planet. It's a fiery kind of planet, action, movement. And water, Pisces, that water is going to bring in more of this kind of fluid and emotional, sensitive kind of energy. So again, our physical forward movement might water down after the 13th, okay? And that's the same time period that Venus is turning retrograde. So that's going to be a very interesting time period with Venus turning retrograde at that time and Mars moving into Pisces at that time. Let me see if there's anything else we want to bring up that's really super important. I think the rest of it, there is one other thing. The rest of it, let me say though, that a good deal of you watch my weekly angel card readings, and of course the specifics every week astrologically are going to be talked about in those weekly readings. So make sure that you watch those if you want more of a detailed overview of what's happening. On May 5th, the nodes, the North Node and the South Node, are finally moving out of Cancer and Capricorn. Now, the nodes travel in a backward sort of fashion. The planets travel in a forward-moving fashion. So, for instance, Mars going into Pisces, it'll be going into the 0 degree of Pisces and then going 1 degree, 2 degree, 3 degrees, and so on. And that's how the planets normally will travel unless they go retrograde. The nodes, on the other hand, travel in a retrograde fashion. So, before the 5th of May, the North Node and South Node are at 0 degrees of Capricorn and Cancer. On May 5th, it will retrograde back and move into the 29th degree of Sagittarius and Gemini. Now, when the nodes shift, we're probably going to see a shift on a karmic or karmic level regarding energies, circumstances, feelings, situations that we're going through. Because the nodes stay in a sign for about 18 months, okay? So every 18 months, they're moving out of one pair of signs and going into the next. And the North Node is about where our soul is aspiring to go in this lifetime, what we're supposed to be learning or attaining in this lifetime or moving towards in this lifetime. And we can say the same as far as a collective level. On a collective level, humanity is moving towards the North Node as a group. The South Node is about the past and past lives and past life energies and, even our own talents and situations, our challenges, etc. And so, again, on a personal level as well as a collective level, we're being drawn into that past because we're familiar with it, okay? And so with the North Node being in Capricorn and retrograding back into Sagittarius, we're now trying to attain a higher understanding, a higher perspective as it moves into Sagittarius for the next 18 months. We're going to be learning a lot. We're going to be expanding our minds a lot. Okay, we're going to be looking for and searching for our truth and sense of freedom, because all of those are keywords of Sagittarius. The South Node, which again is the past, is moving out of Cancer and moving into Gemini. So we're naturally being drawn back into the past because it's familiar to us on this past life sort of collective level, in this cycle that we're talking about. And with Gemini, Gemini is logical and analytical and gets caught up in the details a little bit. So it's more of the, I want to say, the ego mind. Okay, let's say Gemini is more the ego mind and more on the surface level of things, and Sagittarius is more the higher mind and expanding into more of a spiritual way of thinking or looking at things, believing in things, etc. So rather than getting caught back into the Gemini energy for the next 18 months of this is the way it seems and this is the way it looks and so therefore it must be true, realize that our physical eyes are not always perceiving what's the higher level of reality that's going on around us. And that's where we need to go with the Sagittarius energy. Okay? All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at the messages from our angels and guides for the month. And I normally try to pull 3 cards, but you know, those of you that watch me, that a lot of times there's more than 3 cards that come out. And we do have, the first card came out by itself. So let's go ahead and turn that over and take a look at that. Okay, so we have the 10 of Orbs here to start. The 10 of Orbs, this is like the 10 of Swords in the traditional tarot, okay? The orbs are the suit of air, thought, ideas, beliefs, okay? And the number 10 is the last of the minor arcana. So we're getting towards the end of how we're thinking, how we're believing. But the number 10 also in this particular, well, in the tarot in general, but in this particular deck, you can see this image of a person lying face down, almost as if they're so overwhelmed on a mental body level with their thoughts, with the information that's been coming at them over the last few weeks, couple of months. They're feeling overwhelmed, they're feeling overburdened, they're feeling chaotic, they're feeling confused, they're feeling frustrated. That's what I'm getting from the 10 of Orbs here, is that it's almost like we can't take one more thing. We can't read one more story that gives us different information, because if you're one of those people that likes to read the news or watch the news, you're seeing that there's all different kinds of information that are coming at you, and all the stories don't match. So that can be very confusing and overwhelming by itself, not to mention just the idea of what's happening on the planet with the COVID virus, the pandemic that's affecting everyone, how most countries are in lockdown. We're in quarantine right now, businesses are closed, etc. So to start out the month at least, we're dealing with this feeling of overwhelmment on the mental body level, okay? And again, we're feeling like, you know, we just can't carry one more thing mentally. We can't, you know, we can't think about one more thing. Look at all the circles there. It's just so much. It's so much and so overwhelming. So you're dealing with a lot of thoughts swarming around in your head. You're dealing with a lot of different belief systems, most of which might be based out of fear or anxiety with the 10 of Orbs. This almost to me, and looking at how the person is positioned there, I almost want to say, give yourself a break. Give yourself a break from social media. Give yourself a break from reading or watching the news. Give yourself just a break in general. Get some extra rest. Just lay down and relax for a few minutes a day, if you can, because your mind, your body, your energy field need to recharge. And as much as you can, or as much as you're able, try to clear your mind. And if meditation, if that's too much right now for you, get out in nature around your house, or you know, wherever you can go, to connect with the elements of nature, the earth element, the ground, the breeze, the sunlight, you know, the flowers, the trees. Allow them to help you to kind of recenter and rebalance on that mental body level. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the next card, and let's see how we can transition that energy. Okay, the next card, this is one of the cards. The second card came out as 2 cards. And so the first of the second cards is a card that I've seen a lot in these last few weeks, it seems like. I also do a Facebook Live with my friend Kathy Munson, who's a psychic medium on the East Coast. And so every Friday on our Facebook page called Empowered Voices, we're going live and answering people's questions. And this card has come up a lot in that Facebook Live. session that we've been doing, but it's also come up in one or two, at least, of my weekly readings lately. The Chariot. This is Major Arcana number 7, the Chariot. Now, the number 7 has a similar feel to the number 9, and how we talked about May being a 9 universal month and the Hermit card being the 9th Major Arcana. You know, it has that spiritual feel to it, just like the number 7. The number 7 is about going within as well from a numerological perspective. The number 7 asks you to go within, find your own inner light, do your own inner soul searching, connect to your higher self, be silent, contemplate, meditate. All of those things are a 7 energy. This particular card, the Chariot, shows actually in this card 5 horses. 5 horses pulling a chariot. Okay. Now in the traditional tarot, there's usually a chariot being pulled by 2 horses, one black horse and one white horse. And both of those horses are pulling in separate directions. The white horse is pulling to the right, the black horse is pulling to the left. And can a chariot move forward? Can you move forward if part of your mind is pulling you one way and part of your mind is pulling you another? Not very well, right? So in this card, we have 2 horses pulling one way, 2 horses pulling the other. The 5th horse in the center is moving straight ahead. So we do have some ability to move forward a little bit, but those other 4 horses that are pulling in opposite directions need to come into a centeredness. They need to come into a balance or a focus in order for us to move forward appropriately. So the Chariot wants to move forward, okay? However, it's saying that there's opposing energies at play here. There's, the opposing energies at play are usually what the higher soul self is directing or wanting or, asking you to move towards, and what the ego self, the self of us that has the shadow side and the fears and the anxieties. And the ego sometimes pulls us in another direction or off course or off center. So here we're needing to kind of merge both the shadow side of ourselves or the ego mind with our higher soul self in order to move forward appropriately, in order to move forward at a speed and a pace that's going to bring some sort of manifestation or moving towards our goals in a positive way. Now, I suspect, before we turn over the next card, I suspect that because of the vibration of the month of May and because of the retrograde planets of the month of May and those planets just starting out in retrograde motion, which is going to be, bringing in more of an intensity and strength to them as they're just turning to to retrograde motion. Once they, start moving in that retrograde fashion, again, there's still an internalization of the energies, but it won't be as intense as when they're first shifting. So this Chariot and bringing energies into balance so that you can move forward appropriately, it might last a little while, okay? It might be a little while before we can bring all those horses into facing the same way as that middle horse and moving forward so that we can direct our energies and make things happen in our lives. We'll just have to wait and see what June seems to hold as we, move to next month's monthly reading at some point. But for now, let's take a look at the card that came out with the Chariot to get more information. Okay, so the next card is the Sage of Flames. Okay, the Sage of Flames. In this deck, the Sage is the Queen, and Flames is Wands or Fire. So we have the Queen of Fire, the Queen of Wands here. And the Queen of Wands, the Queen, of course, is a feminine influence, but Fire or Flames is a masculine influence. So this is about the divine feminine taking action, the divine feminine being strong and confident, the divine feminine being empowered, okay? And I feel like that's going to be one of the energies that helps this Chariot to move forward, okay? It's about the divine feminine, which we all have, whether you're male or female, you have the divine feminine within you. And what does that mean? The divine feminine is about allowing, receptivity, intuition, healing, helping, being of service to. It's the nurturing, aspect. And so if we take those qualities of the Queen, but we add this strength and confidence and courage and empowerment to it, we have a nice balance almost of masculine and feminine in order to move forward. I love how she's holding several different flames here, okay? She's got a flame above her head. She's got flames to the right, to the left. She's got a coiled serpent flame from her root chakra, you know, up her chakras. So this is about taking the creative element of fire, which is about energy, action, creativity, new ideas, new plans. And again, she's combining that though with surrender, the divine feminine of surrender and allowing and being receptive and going with the flow and going with divine timing. Okay, so she's not pushing too hard. She is exerting her energies. She's exerting her creativity. She's taking charge and being a leader, but she's doing it in the way that she's allowing for what feels right or when it feels right. So really use your intuition at this time with this balance of the divine masculine and the divine feminine, with the sage of flames, with the queen of fire, so that you can get your chariot moving towards your goals. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at the last card here that comes up for May. And this is a really positive card. This is really great. This is Major Arcana number 17. This is the Star card, okay? The first thing, you know, a couple things that I feel with that is, first of all, in this rendition of the Star card, you know, we have this Egyptian figure here out there in the universe. And so immediately I heard, when I turned this over, that we're needing to kind of go with the flow of the planetary energies or the star energies, the universal energies. And this boat, if you will, that the Egyptian figure is on is going to move with the current. And all those retrograde planets, we're going to move with that current. We're going to go within. We're going to do the self-healing. We're going to connect with our star brothers and sisters. We're going to connect with our other planetary energy that's within us because we come from the stars. We're going to connect to the universe, the universal intelligence. And we're going to do all of this in order to move towards our hopes, dreams, and wishes, which is what the Star card is about. The Star card is about what we desire for our future, what we envision for our future, our hopes, our dreams, our wishes. It doesn't mean that they're going to come into manifestation at this particular time, but we're needing to visualize it. We're needing to intend it. What do we want on an individual level? What do we want on a collective level of humanity? And really, you know, we're understanding more and more and having a greater and greater awareness that we are all interconnected, that we are all a part of this collective. This pandemic, this COVID virus that's affected the world has brought us together in a lot of ways, in a ways of bringing us together as one consciousness, you know, one humanity, supporting one another, loving one another, having compassion for one another, because we're all going through something as a result of this situation. So if we can move towards creating for humanity our hopes, dreams, and wishes for humanity, as well as our hopes, dreams, and wishes on an individual level, then this is actually going to create this wonderful bright light, this excuse me, this wonderful feeling of moving forward. Okay, this boat is moving forward, this chariot's moving forward, maybe not this month, but it will soon. And it's bringing us to a better place. You know, the Star card is saying it's bringing us to a better place as a collective and as an individual, even though we might be going through some tough times right now. Okay, so, excuse me, something in my throat and I didn't bring my water here. So let's give our special message card a shuffle here and ask for the special messages for depending on what stone of choice you chose. Whoops, uh-oh. Card falls on the floor. Let me pick that up. Okay, so when the cards fell on the floor when I was shuffling, this is a special message they're saying for everyone, okay? So everyone, 2 cards fell out actually, and the first card is Imagine. And going off of that last card, the Star card, our angels and guides are saying, imagine how you want your life to be. Imagine how you want the world to be. Imagine the planet healthy, balanced, and whole, Earth Mother Gaia. Imagine humanity loving one another and coming together as one, with no judgment, with no conditions, just love and compassion. Imagine what it looks like. I mean, look at this beautiful card. We have the moon here, to me, maybe signifying some sort of cycle of new moon, full moon energy, and we do have some eclipses coming up in June and July, so this might be a significant in regards to those eclipses. But this, you know, this image to me is just beautiful white light coming in. So imagine, again, imagine how you desire the world to be. Imagine how you desire your life to be. The card that came out with Imagine, I love it. Happy, happy. And look at what she's holding there. She's holding a star. So we're back to the star card here. And if we imagine how we want our lives, our relationships, and the world to be, imagine how we want our experience on this planet to be, we can come into this happy, happy place and bringing our hopes, dreams, and wishes, like the stars, like the star card, into reality. We can come into joy, happiness, abundance, prosperity. Look at the rainbow energy coming from up off of her head and up to the heavens, or vice versa, down from the heavens and showering that rainbow light down upon her. That's all the blessings of joy, the blessings of happiness, the blessings of prosperity and abundance that are coming. This looks like an egg that she's sitting on, an egg shape. An egg is about new birth, right? The chicken in the egg, or whatever it is in the egg that's about to hatch. So we're about to, first we're imagining, and then we're going to hatch and birth this wonderful new place of happiness. And there's even a face here in the egg. I'm sure some of you have noticed that already. And to me, that's, you know, our angels and guides. Especially looks a little angelic to me. So our angels and guides that are assisting us along the way, even our star brothers and sisters of the light, because she's holding a star, that are assisting us along the way as we move towards this beautiful new reality. All right, so let's put those aside then, and we're going to ask for the message for people that chose the Chrysocolla. Chrysocolla. Special message for Chrysocolla people. Okay, this one's catching my eye as I open my eyes. Chrysocolla people. Ooh, community. So Aquarian. You know, this is Aquarian energy of coming together with community, finding your tribe, finding those of like mind, finding those that you resonate with, connecting with those people online, and eventually, if the quarantine lifts, we can, you know, come together in community with groups of people again, maybe in some sort of support group fashion or classroom fashion. Again, we can still do those things online, though. We can still find our community and our tribe online. And we have giraffe here that's prominent in this picture. We have a mother giraffe and a baby giraffe, and the giraffe has that long neck, right? So that's symbolic of reaching that higher perspective, reaching up to the heavens, reaching up to a higher way of seeing something or experiencing something, okay? The neck is our bridge between our physical, lower third dimensional body and self to the higher dimensional fifth dimensional body and self, you know, who we really are as a soul, our spiritual selves. So allow that to bridge you to not only your higher self, but to your spiritual community as well. And I feel like a lot of you need some support out there because of what's going on, and maybe you feel isolated because of what's going on. So please start to, you know, participate, like in my Facebook Live group on Empowered Voices every Friday, for instance. That's one thing you can do. Is there's so many people that are doing some live presentations now on Facebook, or, you know, joining some sort of a chat, or taking some sort of a class or lecture right now because you might have more time to do so. Find your community, find who resonates to you, and allow yourself to, you know, bridge yourself to your higher soul self. Okay, those of you that chose the Amazonite, I almost forgot what it was called. Okay, Amazonite. Amazonite people. Message for Amazonite. Amazonite. My eyes keep going to this one, so I'm going to pull this one, Amazonite people. Truth be told, and we have this wonderful owl here. So you're needing, to me, this is very Hermit-like. You know, this is the Hermit card. This is that number 7 card that I can't remember what it was. But this is about going within and finding your inner truth. I feel like maybe you're not allowing yourself to see your own truth. You're not speaking your truth, perhaps, in some situations. You're not living your truth in some situations. So this is the owl. The owl is a symbol of wisdom, inner wisdom, that wants you to find what your truth is and then tell it to the world. But first you need to tell it to yourself, whatever that might be, okay? So go within, do a soul searching. The owl, again, is this very wise, inner, meditative, contemplative, kind of self-searching animal totem. And so in the silence is where you're going to hear the truth. And I just heard that. In the silence is where you will hear the truth. Or in the silence is where you will hear your truth. So that to me means you have to get out in nature, somewhere where there's nobody around, and be in the silence, or you need to meditate and be in the silence, and then listen to the messages you get. Listen to what spirit or your angels and guides are telling you. You might hear a word or a phrase, or you might hear a whole conversation about what that is. Some of you that, may be more prone to writing, like Geminis, Sagittariuses, there's other signs, I'm sure. Maybe you want to do some writing. Maybe you want to meditate and then do some writing after your meditation of what comes through you. Channel that information through automatic writing and ask, what is my truth? What is my truth? Am I living my truth in my career path, my life path, my destiny path, in my relationships, in my family? And let the owl, let your higher soul self tell you what that truth is. And then again, once you find your truth, you're able to live that truth and experience that truth and share that truth with other people. Okay, and then for those of you that chose the azurite, special message. Special message for azurite people. The one that, like when I shuffled on the bottom here, wanted to come out. So, flexible. It seems like we had this card before in a past reading over the last month, or maybe I chose it for myself, I don't remember. But the flexible card, this is asking you, obviously, to not be so rigid, to not be so focused on one thing or one outcome or one way. This is asking you that there's going to be other ways, other potentials, other possibilities, and you need to be flexible and allow yourself to be rerouted or redirected to what those are, okay? So some of you might have, more of a rigid way of thinking or believing. And so you have to kind of ease up on that a little bit and know that there's other possibilities, other perspectives, other ways to see something. They just said to do a practice, if you're having trouble seeing things from a different perspective or being flexible. If you can, if your body will allow you to do this, lying on the edge of your bed so that your torso and your legs are on the bed, but that, your back up to your neck and head are like off the bed, and you're lying kind of backwards and looking at your room kind of upside down. Okay, that's kind of a practice to start seeing things from a different perspective, and then ask as you're doing that, or you can think of other ways to maybe, do that exercise. But ask, allow me to see my reality from a different perspective. Allow me to see different potential opportunities and possibilities as far as this decision that I have to make. Assist me in seeing all of the avenues that I could take and which one might be the best. Allow me to be more flexible in how I approach someone or something. So all of these things would ask for you to be more flexible. Again, this person's balancing on an egg. And that egg is the birth of a new way of believing, the birth of a new way of seeing in this case. If it's asking you to be flexible, it's like asking your rigid thoughts and belief systems to allow for something else. And so I want to say that you're birthing a new way of perceiving, you're birthing a new way of believing. And look at these, you know, all these paths here, you know, they're circular, but there's a lot of them. And so there's a lot of other ways to look at something and still come back to your authentic self, so to speak. Okay? Is there anything else? The number 19, and I know I didn't do this for the other cards, but for this particular card, it keeps drawing me to look at the number 19, which is a karmic number. And this is about learning to stand on your own 2 feet and be your own individual self, while at the same time asking for assistance and help from others and learning that you're part of a community. So it's kind of this weird balance between self and community and others, and doing for yourself and making something happen in your life, taking charge, but at the same time asking for assistance and help from others when you need it, and knowing that you can combine both of those things together to bring you the results that you want. Okay, so I hope everyone has liked this monthly angel card reading. Thank you so much for hanging in there. I know it's a little long, but I wanted to get in as much information as I could, especially during this time that we're dealing with on the planet. Please, again, focus in on my weekly angel card readings. If you so desire, watch my Facebook Live with Kathy Munson on Fridays, at least so far. We've been doing it every Friday at 3 p.m. Pacific Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Just like our page, Empowered Voices, and you'll get notice when we go live. We've also been doing, Kathy and I, a monthly video podcast called Empowered Voices, and that is up on our YouTube channel under the same name, Empowered Voices, on the 11th of every month. So thank you so much for following me on Facebook, Colleen Lemma, or Sacred Soul Empowerment, and visiting my website, sacredsoulempowerment.com, leaving me testimonials, signing up for readings and healings. I thank you all so much for your support, your love, and I send you that love and support right back. Sending you lots of love and light, everyone, and many, many angel blessings.